And we are back with a UFC predictions video. Fight night, Brandon Royval versus Tatsuro Taira. Haven't been doing well for the past 2 weeks, but I'm looking to make a bounce back this week. Let's get straight into fight number 1. Clayton Carpenter versus Lucas Rocha. Now, Clayton Carpenter, he's fought in the UFC. He's fought UFC level opposition in the Contender Series. That Edgar Shara's fight has aged fantastically. And Lucas Rocha, he is unproven at the UFC level. Clayton Carpenter has proven that he is able to deal with adversity in that Contender Series fight. He's a really talented fighter. I do see him winning. Lucas Rocha against Bittencourt in the Contender Series, he got dominated in the first round. Did show a good ability to get back up, but bad positional awareness, being reversed multiple times in the fight when he had top position and gave up his back a bit too much. Doing that against a better grappler in Clayton Carpenter, or I believe to be a better grappler, I don't see it going his way. I don't see Clayton Carpenter diving in for legs as often as Bittencourt and being caught with a knee. It was a Hail Mary kind of knee, well timed at the same time, but it's not enough for me. It doesn't sell me. Even though he has a lot more professional fighting experience, he didn't show much in that fight, so give me Clayton Carpenter to get the W. Next up we have Dan Argueta versus Cody Haddon. Now then, this fight is going to be a good one, but definitely one I recommend fading in terms of bets. Dan Argueta, on his day, he can take you down and impose his will, dominate you and get the W. Cody Haddon, his wins come by way of finish and his only losses against Steve Erceg. Cody Haddon has not proved himself at the UFC level, which is why I'm fading it. Dan Argueta, I like the way that he can control fighters, but I don't see him being able to do this against Cody Haddon. I think Cody's going to get the W. Again, do not waste your money on a UFC debut. Next up, we have a WMMA fight, which means I'm not betting this fight. Cory McKenna versus Julia Polastri, and I see this fight going in favor of Julia Polastri. Cory McKenna against a world-class grappler. You're going to look to shoot a takedown as the fight starts. Not that much fight IQ. Polastri, yes, she's coming off a loss against Josephine Knudsen, but she looked good in that fight. And I think she's going to be able to squeak out the decision win against Cory McKenna. Again, WMMA, no bet. Let's not stick too long on this one. Next up, we have Junior Tafa versus Sharaf. Now listen, this fight was not supposed to happen. Neither of these fighters were initially booked on the card. Junior Tafa, he was a short notice replacement for Waldo Cortez Acosta to fight Chris Barnett. And Chris Barnett pulled out and Sharaf stepped in. So the fight was initially supposed to be Chris Barnett versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. I got there eventually. And now it's this one. I don't know what to say because I don't know much about Sharaf. I know he's a big boy and these guys swing leather. Not one you should be betting. I think Junior Tafa is going to win because I know him. And if it stays as a striking affair, he should get the better of him. He doesn't check leg kicks, so that's a worry. If he gets taken down to the ground, he shows no ability to really do anything, so fade it, but Junior Tafa is the pick. Next up, we have Themba Gorimbo versus Niko Price, and boy, can this fight be boring. Niko Price is an exceptionally entertaining fighter. Not good, but he's entertaining, coming off a win, as I predicted, against Alex Morono. Themba Gorimbo coming off a win, but it was a very boring win where he won by decision, kept getting takedowns, controlled the fight, and bored us to sleep. I think Themba Gorimbo is going to get the job done again. Niko Price, he's way over the hill. I don't see him being able to knock out Themba. He does have a fight where he won off his back, knocked out his opponent. Themba Gorimbo should have more positional awareness if he takes the fight down to the ground, survive, take the back. He can even get a finish. The odds are too low to play it in terms of method of victory because he can also win by decision. Niko Price is chinny. He can get caught as well. I have no idea how Themba is going to win because he has so many methods of victory, but I think he's going to win all the same. Next up, we're on to the featherweight division where we have Jonathan Pearce versus Pat Sabatini. And there's so much value on the underdog in this one. Jonathan Pearce in his fight against David Onama, he got reversed. If he does that against Pat Sabatini has so much control. Pat Sabatini's jiu-jitsu is incredible. He's managed to submit a big guy, much bigger guy, in Niko Price in a grappling match. Yes, he is chinny, but he rushes in for those takedowns, and Jonathan Pearce doesn't have that one-punch knockout power to put him out. Neither does Damon Jackson, but I'm leaning more to the side of Pat Sabatini to get it done. I'm going to be placing half a unit on Pat Sabatini to get it done, and also I'm going to be placing half a unit on Pat Sabatini to win by submission. Jonathan Pearce, I believe he is a blue belt. Pat Sabatini, the man, submitted Niko Price in a grappling match, so I think he's going to be able to submit Jonathan Pearce. On to the flyweights, we have CJ Vergara set to face Ramazan Temirov in his UFC debut. CJ Vergara has not looked that great in the UFC. He managed to beat Daniel Lacerda, who has been cut from the promotion, and Vinicius Salvador, who is not such a great fighter. He lost to Asu Almabayev, Ode Osborne, and Tatsuro Taira. When he was faced against formidable competition, he has lost. Ramazan Temirov, the UFC is looking to give him a huge push. So they're giving him a layup in CJ Vergara. Since it's a UFC debut, I'm not going to be betting it, but I'm very confident that Ramazan Temirov gets the job done. Moving on to Daniel Rodriguez versus Alex Morono. Daniel Rodriguez, he looked terrible against Kelvin Gastelum. And Alex Morono, speaking of terrible, looked even worse against Niko Price. These guys, it really depends on where the fight goes. Alex Morono, he has way better grappling, but he's not even going to try to shoot for a takedown. If this fight stays standing up, I really favor Daniel Rodriguez to get it done by a decision. Alex Morono, maybe he shocks us today and tries to go for a takedown, but Daniel Rodriguez's takedown defense should be good enough to fight off any form of onslaught that Morono has to offer. I got Daniel Rodriguez to win by decision, but I'm not going to be placing a bet because anything can happen between these two guys. They are not that great at the 170-pound division. Next up, we got Grant Dawson set to face off against Rafa Garcia. And Grant Dawson, his fighting style is really boring. He likes to take you down and just hold you there. Wet blanket his way to a victory. But I see him doing that against Rafa Garcia. Garcia is really tough. His submission defense should be solid enough to defend off any form of submission. So I think Grant Dawson wins by decision. I'm going to be placing a unit on that as well. Hopefully, Rafa Garcia's submission defense holds up. Not a takedown defense. We need the takedowns. Grant Dawson needs to get these takedowns, hold them down, and win by decision. Moving on to the welterweight division where we have Chidi Njokuani versus Jared Gooden. And I'm going to be honest. Njokuani, he did not look good in his last fight against Reese McKee. Jared Gooden against Wellington Turman, he had to do a comeback to get the victory, and he surprisingly won by submission. Here's the thing. Chidi, on his night, is a much better fighter than Jared Gooden. Hopefully that Chidi shows up. I'm not going to be placing a bet because I'm not sure which Chidi is going to show up, but I do believe he's going to win because there's a mismatch in terms of skill level. Jared Gooden is tough. He can survive an onslaught by Chidi, but I don't think he's going to manage to land that one-punch knockout blow to put him out. Give me Chidi Njokuani by decision. No bet for this one. On to the middleweight division, we have UFC vet Brad Tavares set to face off against Junior Park, and I'm going to be honest here, there's value in the underdog here for Brad Tavares. I'm placing a unit on Brad Tavares to win. I think Brad Tavares' takedown defense holds up. His submission defense should also hold up if he gets taken down. Union Park, I don't think his striking is on the same level as Brad Tavares, and I think Brad gets it done by decision. I'm going to be placing one unit, as I said before, on Brad Tavares to get it done. Now on to the main event of the evening. We have Tatsuro Taira set to face off against Brandon Royval. And the odds makers really favor Tatsuro Taira, but I see this as more of a pick'em fight. Tatsuro Taira, he has faced adversity in some of his fights. Look at the fight against Edgar Chairez. Also, Brandon Royval, he's a top-level competitor at the 125-pound division. He gave the champ a run for his money. People want to take this guy down because his striking is that damn good. He beat Brandon Morono, let's not forget, one of the best 125ers in the entire division. It's too disrespectful to place the odds so high in the favor of Tatsuro Taira, in my opinion. In terms of betting, what I want to bet is Brandon Royval to land more significant strikes. He is a higher volume output kind of fighter. Tatsuro Taira, even in his wins, the amount of significant strikes that he lands is nowhere near the amount that Brandon Royval lands. I favored the side of Brandon Royval because of the value. I think he's severely underestimated. I think the fight should be pick'em odds, but that may just be me. No bet on the outcome, just the significant strikes. And this has been my UFC predictions for UFC Fight Night, Brandon Royval versus Tatsuro Taira. Hope you like it. If you do, leave a like. Let me know what you think about the video down below. Subscribe. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on Twitter. Support the channel on the Patreon. And I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, game time.